Hello everybody, welcome to my third annual Big 12 football preview show where I highlight all the Big 12 teams who are involved in bowl games. Sorry, Kansas and Texas Tech. Anyway, we will preview those teams involved in bowl games from the Big 12 with the exception of one, that's Oklahoma, because we'll be giving them their own bowl preview show coming up in the next few days on this very webpage, so check back with this as we'll highlight Oklahoma versus Iowa. That game will be played on December the 30th in Tempe, Arizona. If you're asking yourself, has Oklahoma played in this bowl game before? The answer is, well, sort of. Back when it was called the Copper Bowl in 1994 when OU got routed that day by BYU. Of course, the game's gone through some name changes and a couple of venue changes since. It's now, of course, played at Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe. That's been its home since 2006, and it's now known as the Insight Bowl. So OU and Iowa on December the 30th. Now, let's go ahead and highlight bowl games involving Big 12 teams. We'll start with the Big 12 champions. That's Oklahoma State. Still pains me to say that, but Cowboys got to get up to them. Had a terrific year, 11-1. They'll be taking on an 11-1 squad in Stanford. So it's number 3 OSU, number 4 Stanford in the Fiesta Bowl. And we think about the passing attacks with Andrew Luck of Stanford as well as Brandon Whedon of Oklahoma State, but don't rest on the running games because the running games are just as potent with Stephon Taylor of Stanford as well as OSU's Joseph Randle and Jeremy Smith. But I think it's going to come down to which defense becomes most opportunistic. Oklahoma State's proven all year long they know how to get takeaways and take advantage of them. I'll look for Oklahoma State to get some in this game, and I think in the fourth quarter they have just enough to get past Stanford, OSU to win by about 7 points. Now, let's take a look at the Cotton Bowl. A couple of teams that, maybe in other years they would have gotten a BCS Bowl, but it didn't work out. Kansas State, I'm still scratching my head as to how they didn't get a BCS at large. I mean, Virginia Tech over Kansas State, I still don't understand that. But anyway, the 10-2 Wildcats will take on 10-2 Arkansas in the Cotton Bowl. Arkansas in normal years would have gone to a BCS game like they did last year, but because LSU and Bama and Arkansas are all in the same conference, can't have more than 2 schools from the same league going to a BCS game, so Arkansas got left out. This should still be a pretty good game. Colin Klein, he's been Mr. Everything for K-State this year, but he's done it mostly with his legs. I think what's going to come down to is Arkansas and the fact that they can run, and boy, can they pass with Childs and Adams at receiver and Tyler Wilson throwing the ball. I'll look for Arkansas to have a little too much offense in this one against K-State. Highlighting the Alamo Bowl. Baylor, for the first time in 19 years, back-to-back bowl appearances, and it helps when you have the Heisman Trophy winner in Robert Griffin III. Looks like this will be his last game as a collegian because he could forego his final year of eligibility to go to the NFL. He's projected to be a high draft pick if he decides to leave. Baylor, they've been playing their best football right now. The Washington Huskies, Baylor's opponent, hasn't been playing their best ball right now. In fact, Washington, despite the good year that Steve Sarkisian's had as Husky head coach, Washington's lost 3 of their last 4 of their last 6, including a loss in that stretch to pathetic Oregon State. Even though Washington has some offense defensively, they're going to give up a lot in this game, and it doesn't help Washington that Baylor is playing this game just 4 hours from campus from Waco, so it won't be that far of a trip for Baylor fans to make to San Antonio. Baylor will have too much offense in this game, and RG3 will end his college career with the bang. I'll look for Baylor to win the Alamo Bowl. Now, let's go to California for the Holiday Bowl. Texas, after missing out on the postseason last year, well, they're back in the bowl game. The 7-5 Horns will play 7-5 Cal at the Holiday Bowl in San Diego. Texas down the stretch was banged up. They did pull out a win against A&M, but got shellacked against Baylor in that second half to close out the season. My question about Texas, how healthy are they going to be, and can Mac Brown perform well in bowl games? Even though Cal won 3 of their last 4 games, for some reason my gut says take Texas, and I think mainly it's because Mac Brown usually wins bowl games. Don't ever bet against Mac Brown in a bowl game because you'll probably lose. His record proves that, and I think Texas will find a way to edge out the Golden Bears in the Holiday Bowl. We're going to highlight a couple of teams that are playing their final games as Big 12 members. Missouri and A&M both are off to the SEC next year. Let's highlight Missouri first, playing in the Independence Bowl against North Carolina. Doesn't look like Henry Josie will play the Missouri running back, but what's impressed me the most about Missouri lately, despite in fact not being a great year by Tiger standards, a lot of people thought maybe they'd have a 9-10 win year. It's turned out to be a 7-5 year, but I have been impressed lately with their defense. The Tigers have won their last 3. North Carolina, in the meantime, kind of going through a slump to close out the year. Despite the fact that Larry Fedora will be their head coach, they'll both be going with the interim coach for this particular bowl game, and Missouri lifetime 2-0 against North Carolina. So I'm going to take the Tigers to win the Independence Bowl. Texas A&M, biggest disappointment this year in college football, a 6-6 record for the wrecked crew. Not the wrecking crew, but the wrecked crew, because their year was totally wrecked, fired Mike Sherman. Kevin Sumlin will be their head coach in the future, but this is a game that I cannot see A&M getting completely fired up for, considering how their year ended. Northwestern, despite the fact that they're 6-6, is a dangerous team. We found that out earlier this year when Northwestern, with a backup quarterback, was able to win at Nebraska. So Northwestern has the potential to win the Meineke Car Care Bowl in Houston. Not that far of a trip for A&M, but the thing is, I don't like the way the Aggies have been playing this year, especially late in ball games, and I think Northwestern will have the advantage because of that. So I look for Northwestern in a high-scoring game to beat A&M. And then finally, the Pinstripe Bowl in New York. That's right, playing at Yankee Stadium. It'll be Rutgers, not that far of a trip. They will play Iowa State. Second time in the last 3 years that Paul Rhodes has guided his Cyclones to postseason play. Of course, Iowa State's highlight this year was beating Oklahoma State, preventing the Cowboys from a shot at the national championship game. Iowa State, when they want to, they can turn it on. This is a team that doesn't have as much talent as some of the upper echelon of the Big 12, but they get the most out of what they have. And Rutgers had an opportunity, perhaps, to win the Big East. They blew it down the stretch. And I know that it's going to be a far trip from Iowa all the way up to upstate New York. I don't think it'll matter. I think Iowa State, like they did 2 years ago against Minnesota, will close out their year with the win. I will take the Cyclones, and I think the Cyclone defense will be the difference in this one. So Cyclones, I predict, will win the Pinstripe Bowl. And again, that's it. Again, Kansas and Texas Tech not qualifying for bowl games. And by the way, Texas Tech, the first time since becoming a part of the Big 12 that they have failed to qualify for a bowl game. After beating OU, they lost their last 5 to finish at 5-7. The third annual Big 12 Bowl Preview Show has come to a close. Remember, join us in a few days where I will have the bowl matchup show as we will break down Oklahoma and Iowa. Happy holidays.